You are listening to Däs Bündesliga here on the Lock Betting Podcast. You can follow Lock Betting on Twitter at lockbetting.com. That's at lockbetting.com. This podcast is a little bit late and we're only covering 4 games on it. This is because I have been extremely ill over the last 48 hours. I was in Manchester yesterday I was in Manchester on Thursday for the Europa League game. And I went there feeling a little bit rough initially on Wednesday. But by the time it was time to go home on Friday, I was feeling absolutely shocking. It was a stomach problem. I won't go into too much detail, but driving home was very, very difficult. I had to stop a lot. So in the end, where I planned to get home, plus there was a load of traffic as well. There was a car accident on the motorway. So whereas I planned to be home last night at around about 8-9 p.m, I ended up getting home at 1 o'clock in the morning, just about got myself through the EPL show, because obviously that's the priority with the way the games are scheduled, with EPL happening at 12:30 p.m. today. And then decided to go to bed and get my shows out late, miss a couple of the games on them. Obviously, we've missed out a big slate of Bundesliga games, and we've missed out a couple of Serie A games as a result of this. But I'm still here doing my show, doing my shows on my sick bed. So there is that. I have not decided to just pull the shows, but obviously you are getting a much shorter version of the Bundesliga show here as we look at the 4 games that still need to be played after this podcast comes out. So we start with the late game on Saturday, where RB Leipzig are hosting Hertha Berlin. RB Leipzig are the 2-5 favourites. It's 19-5 on the draw, and it's 6-1 on Hertha Berlin. You just ride RB Leipzig at home. I think at 2-5, I would still be looking at them as a parlay piece here. If you're looking for an individual bet, it does get a little bit more difficult. I found some strong data for RB Leipzig to be winning at halftime and to be also winning at full time, because if they do go in at halftime and go on to win the game, that gives you 6-5 plus 120 here on the selection. Leipzig have been leading at both halftime and full time in 5 of their last 7 home games, and the same can be said in 7 of their last 9 encounters with this Hertha Berlin team, or against this Hertha Berlin team. Meanwhile, Hertha have won just once in the league all season. So they'll probably come here and set up with a defensive formation, looking to not go in 1-0 down at half time. But ultimately, it will be all RB Leipzig creating the chances, having the ball, getting the balls into the box, and ultimately I do think they'll get that breakthrough in the first 45 minutes and go on to win the game relatively comfortably. I also like other plays on RB Leipzig -1, which pushes if they win by a single goal but cashes if they win by 2 or more. And I also like taking RB Leipzig here and the over 1.5 goals tacked on, which cashes if they win by any scoreline other than a 1-0 victory. Up next, we move across to Sunday. Plenty of time to have a look at these games and see what you want to do with them. I'll give you my takes now. We start with Cologne at home to Augsburg, where Cologne are the 4-6 favourites on the money line. It's 3-1 on the draw, and it's 15-4 here on Augsburg. These two teams were pretty level, or at least talked about in the same breath a few years back, but Cologne have definitely powered on to be one of the stronger bottom half teams in Germany, a team who flirt with the top half of the table. However, in this spot, I do actually like Augsburg to get something from the game at 4-6 -150, or in fact even shorter in some places. I've seen them as short as 4-7. There is some value on Augsburg to avoid a defeat. Augsburg do well here in Cologne. My research told me that Augsburg haven't lost at this venue since 2011, and they'll be looking to continue that unbeaten run even further, making their strongest top flight 9-game start in the club's history. So whereas Cologne obviously are the favourites because they're more established, they've been more consistent over the last few years, Augsburg are having a good start to the season, and if they can pick up a win here, this will represent their best start ever after 9 games. Augsburg actually have had the joint fewest shots in the league, but are unbeaten in 4. So you can see that this will be a game where they'll sit in and they'll try to take their chances on the break. And they may have a chance of actually doing that, given that Cologne have conceded 8 times in 3 straight defeats coming into this one. So you could look at this 2 ways. I don't think this is one of the strongest plays I've ever put out. But Cologne are on a bounce back here, and they are playing inferior opposition. But that inferior opposition are punching way above their weight so far this season. Up next, we look at what is, I think, the game of the week, because it has the league leaders, Union Berlin, hosting Borussia Dortmund as an underdog. Union Berlin are the 2-1 plus 200 dogs here. It's 23-10 on the draw, and Borussia Dortmund are the 6-5 favourites. Immediately, I can see that I can get Union Berlin, the leaders in the Bundesliga, at 4-6 minus 150, not to lose this game to Borussia Dortmund. I think Borussia Dortmund are being a little bit overrated here. I think this game could easily wind up being a draw. Union have the chance to remain top of the table, but only a win will do that. If Dortmund are to establish themselves as serious challengers, I think they need to go to the capital and win here. But in all honesty, I don't think that either of these 2 teams are serious challengers. I think once Bayern Munich click into gear, this will be a league where teams are only competing for second place. And ultimately, I do think that Dortmund will finish above Union Berlin. But here, there is absolutely no value in taking Dortmund as a short price favourite. Union Berlin are unbeaten across their last 10 home league matches. Dortmund come into this game on the back of consecutive draws, and it's worth noting games between Union and Dortmund average 3.8 goals per match. So if you're looking for a scoreline, the 2-2 draw jumps off the page to me here at the whopping price of 16-1 here for this one. The final game we're going to look at here is the Bayern Munich match. They are at home to Freiburg, where Bayern are the 1-4 minus 400 favourites to win this one. It's 21-4 on the draw, and it's 19-2 on Freiburg. I wouldn't say Freiburg are a live dog here. I do think the price is slightly disrespectful given how Freiburg have started this season and how Bayern have started this season. But ultimately, gun to my head, I still think Bayern Munich will win. But what's very interesting to me is how the bookies don't really adjust for the number of goals that Bayern Munich are conceding. Both teams to score here for this game is available at the price of 7-10. Bayern Munich to win with both teams to score tacked on is available at 6-4 plus 150. Now, I don't understand how we're being offered up both teams to score at the price of 7-10. It has been cashing very, very regularly in Bayern Munich matches. And of course, as I just mentioned, if you do like Bayern Munich to win, it's an absolute no-brainer to go with Bayern Munich and both teams to score at 6-4 plus 150. Freiburg boast the longest current active Bundesliga unbeaten streak in the league with 4 wins and 3 draws. They're unbeaten in 7. This season actually represents Bayern's worst 9-game start in the Bundesliga for 12 years. 4 wins, 4 draws and a loss. And Bayern have also failed to keep a clean sheet in each of the last 8 head-to-head matches with Freiburg. So if it gets to 9 in a row, both teams to score has cashed. And getting that at 7-10 for something that has happened 8 times in a row coming into it, I think offers up some very, very good value here. And as I said, I would not dissuade you from tacking on Bayern Munich to win, because your 7-10 then becomes 6-4 plus 150 with Bayern Munich and both teams to score. Closing out with your lock on the show, despite the fact the show is late, obviously this weekend, the 2 games that I like the most are the games that actually involve Bayern Munich and Dortmund that are both being played tomorrow. So it isn't really a big deal in terms of picking the lock. So I was torn between a selection from the Bayern game and torn between my selection in the Dortmund game. I've ended up going with the selection in the Dortmund game, and that's Union Berlin on the double chance market to avoid a defeat at the price of 4-6 minus 150. This is very, very disrespectful on a Union Berlin team that just don't get beaten at home. In order to get beaten at home, I do believe that Borussia Dortmund will need to score 2 goals. And at the moment, nobody's scoring 2 goals past Union Berlin on their own turf. Dortmund also don't travel well. I think their away record is being overrated here. And I feel there is significant value on taking Union Berlin simply not to lose this game at the price of 4-6 minus 150 on the double chance market. That's it for me in this edition of Däs Bündesliga Show. Good luck with all of your bets as always, and Thanks for listening.